Welcome to Nkosi Talk Shows. Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Challenges we have had to overcome in 2020.
Find your own voice.
The world has become united by the unseen, knowing there are no guarantees for tomorrow.
Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Let the world hear your voice and be filled within.
For the day has come for you to be a great leader.
The time has come to break away from the pain, distraction, experience the unthinkable.
The time has come for you to break away from the pain, the distractions, the experience the unthinkable. Welcome to Nkosi Talk Shows, everyone. My name is Nomsa Clara Mngube. I'm the founder of Hope Spring Eternal Nutrition Agency and the founder of Nkosi Talk Shows. So today, it looks like you just got me. Clara got disconnected, so I've waited for her for 15 minutes. So I'm not sure if she's going to join. If she does join, I will let her in. It looks like there's a network problems or she's just been called out. I don't know. So the topic today basically is make peace with your broken pieces. Are you someone who has basically lost? Are you someone, have you lost yourself? Are you someone who has lost themselves? And someone who has gone through years and years of pain, years of, it could be relationship abuse, it could be maybe parents rejection, it could be parents abuse, and it could be maybe you going through relationship abuse with your ex, or you could be going through it now. Because during the pandemic, basically, the statistics showed that basically relationship abuse has gone up a lot. And are you that somebody who has gone through something and you are trying to fit in within the society, and basically you don't seem to have peace within you? You don't seem to find peace. Basically, you're trying to fit in. But the question is, how do you make peace with yourself? So, any audience, anyone who is watching, please, I know somehow in our lives, we all have experienced pain in our lives. So, if you can type and let me know how you basically made peace within yourself with your broken pieces. We all are broken somehow, broken at work, relationships at work not working how they're meant to work, and relationship with families. So if you are that person that is watching and you don't really mind, just type and let me know how you actually basically had peace with yourself, within yourself. So basically, how do you have peace with your past? First, you have to forgive yourself. Forgiving yourself, it doesn't mean basically you have to be friends with somebody or you have to go back to the person who have hurt you. Sometimes it could be the pain that we ourselves inflicted within us, because sometimes we inflict scars ourselves. It doesn't necessarily that when you go through pain, it doesn't mean that somebody has to put pain is always somebody else's fault. Sometimes we inflict the pain within ourselves, but then we have to find that special place to forgive ourselves. to be able to move on, to be able to let go of pain that we've gone through in the past. We have to forgive ourselves. We have to forgive whatever you go through in the past. We have to, if that past is not forgiven, it will leave scars emotionally and physically. But if you really, really forgive yourself and stop feeling guilty of what happened, if it was a relationship abuse, I've never gone through relationship abuse myself. If it was a relationship abuse, but I do have friends that have gone through relationship abuse. I do have friends that have gone through parents abuse, being abused by their parents, or they've gone rejection, they've gone through basically abuse at work, uh, basically discrimination. So I do have friends who have gone through that. I've gone through discrimination myself at work, but I'm not gonna say what kind of work, because basically I've gone through it. I've worked through that pain, forgiven myself, and forgiven those who basically hurt me there. So are you somebody who is holding the pain? You have not had peace with your past because of somebody who hurt you then, back then, because of somebody who who have abused you back then, and have you forgiven yourself? So you do have a choice of forgiving yourself. You do have a choice of not staying too long. If you stay too long, forgiveness is a process. Basically, it's a process that you have to go through it. You have to go through that process. But at the same time, can't stay too long in that unforgiveness situation. If you stay too long, then it will result to you declare, hi Clara.
Hi, hello everyone.
Hi. So do you want to introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure, my name is Clara Rufai. I'm known as the Shine Strategist, and I'm a corporate lawyer. I'm also a coach, I'm a mentor, I'm a published author of several books. And I just love to encourage and teach and empower people to shine in their brilliance. And to shine simply means to start, to harness, to identify, to network, and to express your brilliance, which is the gifts, the talents that God has given you. And so it is my passion to help people, to support people on that journey. And I'm pleased to be here.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Clara. So what's your take on the topic today? Make peace with your broken pieces.
It is such an interesting topic that the moment I saw it, I thought I have to come here and share my piece because um, it's something I absolutely believe in, and the reason I believe in it is because I have my own broken pieces, but on top of that, I know that we all, whether we admit it or not, every human being walking the face of the earth has broken pieces. Nobody is, if you like, unfractured. We all have pieces. We all have, things that we need to come to terms with. So I think that this is a topic that's really relevant to discuss so that people know that there is no damage to anybody. You may have gone through stuff, but that everything you go through is meant to bring you through to your breakthrough. Every experience, whether it is, we talk about ups and downs, we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. I absolutely am a believer in the fact that everything that happens to us in life happens to us for a purpose. So that the tragic thing there, the tragedy there is not that it's not when things happen to you, it is when you fail to get the lessons that you're supposed to learn from the experiences of life. Because if you pick up those lessons and you learn them and you become wiser and better through those lessons, your life will actually transform. That has been my experience because, oh my God, have I had tragedies? Oh my God, do I have broken pieces? Lots of them. Do I have scars? Plenty of them. So I really do commend you for picking this topic today because I think that especially in this month of January. We're facing a long year and we're just coming out of 2 years of COVID and a pandemic. There is a lot of brokenness. There's a lot of people that need healing. There's a lot of mindsets that need resetting. So this is a perfect time to be discussing this topic.
Thank you so much.
I can't hear you now.
I
I
keep
think it's
pressing it twice and muting myself. I'm trying to unmute myself. Oh yeah, I do understand what you're saying, Clara, because it's like we had like 2020 it's been a journey where you basically that I showed us that there are no guarantees in life. And
true.
there are so many broken basically like broken relationship that
Yes.
where I turn right now, where I turn it's like everyone it tells me, I'm like, how is this one split up? I'm like,
Mm,
oh, what is happening on
mm,
earth? Okay, so I'm like, wow, what is happening? The pandemic is here to actually distract us, and then it's taking our relationship away. There's so many broken relationships, and so many people here have lost their loved ones through different disease, basically. And
mhm.
not all that, it's like, when you have gone through challenges in life, you have to be true to the person who stood by you because that person
Yeah,
is you. And we went through pandemic 2020, and that person that stood by you as well is you, and you pull through
absolutely.
it. So
Absolutely.
we actually have to be true to ourselves. And sometimes we want those who hurt us back then to give us an apology. So you have to understand that you may not get the apology that you want, and you have to heal that brokenness within you. And
Absolutely.
for me, basically, if I do make mistakes, whether I'm in the wrong or whether I'm not, I've learned that the hard way that you have to apologize to somebody if you believe that you've hurt somebody, you have
Mhm.
to apologize. But there are some people who have gone through abuse in the past, who have gone through so many challenges. And those people that caused that pain, they are dead. They might not even alive. And
Mhm.
would you get that apology? No, you won't. So the only way is for you to forgive yourself, to forgive that person. Clara, how do you basically like yourself? Have you gone through something, and how did you basically had to go forgive, find that courage to actually say, I'm just gonna let this go?
The funny thing is, of course, I have, because these are the issue of relationships going wrong or somebody offending
Yeah,
somebody or things going wrong generally is
yeah, even in
universal,
business as well.
right? Exactly, is universal. But let me tell you an interesting one. So that's happened to me severally, but I'll tell you an interesting one when I had to forgive God. And this has to do with a tragedy that I experienced, over a decade, almost 2 decades ago now, which was the unfortunate loss of two of my siblings. Now, that incident, I like to talk about it because not because I want people to feel sorry for me, because I'm no longer in that space. I've grown by it, and I'm actually able to counsel and speak to people and help them with their own grieving journey or healing process. So it is something I celebrate. It is something I count as a good thing now in my life. But there was a time when that incident happened. I was much younger, of course, when that incident happened and I lost two of my younger sisters in one day. I went into a spiraling wave of depression. And because I was a believer then, well, obviously not a mature believer, but I was a believer then. And I believe that God should have been looking out for me, that He should not have allowed my sisters to die. And so what I did was I shut myself out I shut myself in and shut everybody out. And I wouldn't allow anybody else to comfort me. And indeed, the people that could have easily given me that comfort, my family members, they were also grieving, because what happened didn't happen to just me, it happened to everybody. So by shutting myself out, and that's the thing, misery just loves it when you go into a hole by yourself and you don't allow or permit anybody else. But if you are courageous enough to open the doors, you'll find out that boogeyman is within, the boogeyman is in outside. So when you shut the doors on yourself, you are actually doing yourself a disservice. So I went through this spiraling wave of depression where I refused to talk to God, and I was basically keeping malice with God. And thank God, him being the benevolent father that he is, he led me through a path in which I came to know him even more deeply and more intimately. I ended up, quote and unquote, apologizing to him, because I realized that all the time when I kept myself away from him because of what had happened, I was actually losing out. I could have been enjoying the embrace of my father, my heavenly father, and I could have healed faster. But thank God in his mercy that I was able to see all that. And I keep talking about this because while I was in that gray space, I actually gave myself a life philosophy and a name. So these days when I talk, I tell people, listen, I have a name apart from the name that my parents gave me. I have a name that I gave myself. And that name is BTC, Born to Conquer. Why? Because when I was in that place of depression, I was able to see how that God has given me all the strength that I need to be able to go through adversity. So these days, I'm not welcoming adversity necessarily, but I know that if anything happens, when life throws its lemons, I know that I have the ability to take those lemons and turn them into sweet lemonade. And that's what I tell people all the time, that I'm not trying to invalidate the fact that a tragedy has happened or there is a pandemic or something. There is, all these things will always be there. But if you look closely, beyond the gray clouds of life, you will see the rainbow peeking out. Beyond the gray clouds of life, there is always a rainbow on the distant shore. And all you have to do sometimes is just train your vision and stare so intently at that rainbow until the colors become so vivid and they literally pop out and brighten your world. So I had to forgive God, as I said. And in forgiving God, it was just basically coming to terms with the fact that what had happened, and it was not an indication that I was not loved by God. It was not an indication that God fell asleep on his duties, on his job, on his, God forbid. It was just an indication that we all have our parts in life, and perhaps they had concluded their earthly journey. Very brief. I would have preferred it to be longer, but they had concluded their earthly journey. And God taught me to know, to understand, and to accept that, they were gone, their life was over, but I still had my life, and that I had to make my life count. If nothing else, at least in their memory. And I believe that that's the life I'm living now, because all the things that have happened to me since then have gone on to make me a better person, a stronger person, somebody who can turn around and support other people in their healing journey and hold their hands and give them some kind of comfort. So, yeah, that was one experience that I can say forgiveness is very, very important. Forgiving yourself, forgiving others, as you rightly said, even where the person doesn't come to say, hey, look, I'm sorry, I hurt you. You have to let the person go, because otherwise you're the one who suffers. The person doesn't suffer quite as much as you do because they don't care. They're going about their life. You have to let it go. You have to free yourself. And oftentimes, even when we do things that we would call sin, or we offend God or something, and God has forgiven us, most of us still live in that place of feeling guilty or feeling bad, or continuing to see ourselves in that light of the wrongdoing that we've done, whereas God sees us in a totally different way. Yeah, that works for me because I'm a believer. So hopefully, someone takes something of value from that.
I actually, guys, if you're watching, feel free to type and let us know how you've dealt with your broken pieces in your life. I'm glad that Clara, you actually came to a realization that God is a faithful God, because God, He will never ever forsake you. You know, if you believe, human flesh will always let you down, but He would never ever let you down. So I'm a great believer in that as well. I believe that God is a faithful God, and His mercy and grace basically is always there to protect and to love us. And you know, like losing your sisters, what I've realized is that before I used to like to say, God, why did this happen? But now when things happen, I always look back and I always see that there was always a sign. God is showing me that the protection that, in order for God to protect you, you have to have a voice. You have to seek Him. You have to have the eyes of basically seeing what's happening in the world. There must have been a sign for God is showing you guys about your twin sisters, but because of the blindness of the world, and we don't see it. So, and if you are not basically, if your faith is not there yet, it will be hard. So, for you to be where you are today, it was the lesson that you've learned from that tragedy. It was the lesson that when you go through pain, you have choices. You can either drown in that pain, or you can either choose to actually learn something from that experience. And I've gone through so many challenges in life, and I have chosen to actually learn through those challenges in life, because God will not give you a challenge if He didn't know that you were not going to pull through. So every challenge, there is basically there's something to learn from. Every challenge that comes there is a lesson for us to learn. So that's what I believe, that basically just have to you have to acknowledge basically your thoughts. You have to acknowledge your feelings, acknowledge the experience as well. How it doesn't matter. What matters is, what did I learn from this, and how do I move from this
Absolutely.
situation, and how do I heal myself? Because it's very, very important to actually
Hmm.
find healing, and the process of healing is amazing. And when you go through the process, like when you go through a psychologist, like it's like when my marriage broke down, I actually went through how many psychologists? One, two, three, four. And
Wow.
I remember I was like talking to them, and I would talk to them and go home, because in my head, basically my head was somewhere else. And I remember going through this when I finished with another psychology. I'll go through this. I went through six actually, maybe.
Wow.
And the last one, we went through things. I went through things. And when I left her, it was then when I actually worked through forgiveness process, the healing. And when I
Mm.
worked through the process of healing on my own, because they have done whatever they could to actually help me come to terms with, because a relationship, when it's broken, there are places that it feel like you visited with that person. You feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that those places have been stripped away from you. They are
Exactly.
basically family. The relationship that you built with that person, when that
So
breaks,
true.
it feels that everything is being stripped away. So, but you then have to get rid of the blame and heal yourself. So that was a big
Absolutely.
challenge of me being basically honest within
Yeah.
myself and just looking at me, checking out with me. And that was the tough one. And over to
And
you, Clara.
I'm sure that, if you realize, as I did realize myself, that unless you make peace with your past, it's almost like your future continues to be a constant battle. You keep struggling with something because you haven't learned that process. And it's a process, and it's not even a one-off, because it's something that, think of how many times you've had to forgive a friend, a parent, or you've had to forgive a business partner, or whatever it is. And think of how many times you may have knowingly or unknowingly offended somebody, and they've had to forgive you. So it's
Yeah,
something that not is not a one-off, so that when we learn that art It's almost like a skill. When we learn to let go, and when we learn to, and when I say let go, I'm not talking about being like nonchalant, I don't care kind of thing. It's about analyzing what has happened, and maybe even realizing, taking the takeaways from it. What are the learning points, that I can take from this experience? What can I do differently? And then remembering above all else that it's not what is done to you, it is how you react to it. Because
Yeah,
how we react to the experiences of life, to the things that people do to offend us, that is what really keeps us in our prison. Whereas when
yeah,
we realize that, the power is in us to let go and to move on, then we are empowered to actually move on and start living our future, basically.
yeah. We do have power to actually to take our power back and receive that
Yes.
breakthrough that we deserve. Because if
Yes.
you don't get the breakthrough that
Yes.
you deserve, and you don't give yourself permission to be who you want to
Mhm.
be, and instead of being held in chains and
Yeah.
captivity,
Yeah.
and basically it's not going to work. Your life is not going to move forward. You just have to break free, because
Mhm.
somehow, like you say, uh, basically we spend life forgiving each other, but we're not perfect.
We're
So,
not. Yes.
and I feel sorry for those who have to go through a relationship abuse. I've never gone through relationship abuse, but basically it drags on. I watch it sometimes on YouTube. The police is saying, basically with the relationship abuse, you just have to hope that the other
Mhm.
person that is being abused, they will just wake up one day and see the reality. And hi, Roger. Hi, Roger. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Roger says the one that so many need to hear: forgiveness enables us to move on and become who God wants us to be.
Absolutely.
Yes, that is so true. That is so true. We have to basically know that our Creator created us for a purpose here on earth, and we have to basically play our part. Can you imagine if you were holding on unforgiveness? Would you be here at Ngozi talk shows? No.
Mhm.
Even Roger, he would not be actually commenting here at Ngozi talk show, because he will be somewhere else holding it, holding. But
Yeah.
he's able to come on and comment, because he knows that actually I want to be the person who I want to be. So over to you, Clara.
And it's actually one of the most courageous actions that we can take. That action of forgiving ourselves, of forgiving others, of letting go and making peace
Yeah.
with our past. And what I believe, and maybe I've said this before, but I'm saying it differently. What I believe is that the pieces, the broken pieces, can actually be put together in a way that forms a beautiful picture. The rich tapestry of life is something that we arrive at not in a day, not in the twinkling of an eye, but over time. And it's a result of the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's a result of all the bad things that have happened, the times we have failed and failed forward, the lessons we have learned, the bad things that have happened to us, the sad stories we have to share, whether those are our personal stories or stories of friends and family and other things we've experienced. All of those things bring about wisdom. I actually feel like every single time something happens to us, every single time we experience something, especially an adverse experience, it's an opportunity to gain wisdom by it. It's an opportunity to climb one step higher on the ladder of life, if you like. It is only tragic, it is only sad when things happen and we don't take the learning points. As long as we take the learning points, it is nothing to be ashamed of for you to, just the way you would count your blessings or name your blessings, is nothing to be ashamed of for you to be vulnerable enough to name your failures, so to speak, and to use those failures to actually complete your story or to actually teach somebody else. Because I do believe that it is only what you have personally experienced that you cannot be an authority in something you don't understand. If someone's talking about a failed relationship or a divorce, if you've never been divorced, you can't just, you can't say you cannot understand where they're coming
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
But
You
they
can
are,
relate to the
yes,
story. Yeah.
they are divinely equipped to reach out
Yeah.
to somebody else who is going through that experience, because God has allowed them, to pass through that experience. And it's our situations in life actually just make us stronger. They've come to teach us something and to make us stronger and to equip us to do better in the future. Because, as I said, the trials of life, the issues, and all of those things will keep on coming until we exit this earth. So why not learn these skills? I read somewhere where someone said, I can't remember quite how it was said, but it was something along the lines of, rather than asking for a lighter load, you should ask for a stronger back, because the load will be there anyway. So just say, you know what, just strengthen my muscles, strengthen my back, so
Yeah.
that no matter the load that life chooses to put on me, I will be equipped and I will be strong enough to carry it. And it also helps to know when to let go, the things to let go of. Isn't that why we say, there's a prayer my little niece always says, my, well, not so little now, my teenage niece always says, God give us the serenity to bear the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The truth of the matter is, in most things in life, we can change our perspective. And by changing our perspective, changing the way we see certain
Yeah.
things in life, we are empowered.
Yeah.
That place of empowerment, I do not joke with it, because, as I said, when you're not empowered, you cannot empower somebody else. That personal self-leadership, self-discipline, disciplining your emotions. When you talk about emotional intelligence, you talk about, these things are so much more important even in a post-COVID world now, because mental health is so uppermost, is on everyone's lips. A lot of people are going into depression because of the pandemic. People have lost their jobs and different things have happened. So at no time, more than this, is the issue of mental health very, 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 very important. So we really do have to keep that in mind, and we really do have to either speak to those around us, talk to people around us about this issue, so that people know that, you're not in this alone, you're not going through it alone, the whole world is in it right
Yeah.
along with you. And do you know what? You are actually not powerless as you think. There are ways in which you can put the spin on what's going on and have a different perspective. Perspective is everything.
That is so true. That is so true. Mental health has really, really, really gone up. I
Mhm.
basically have no idea what is this pandemic is. Basically,
Mm,
I passed through yesterday. There is a shop where um I always pass through it to say hello. The guy does the photocopying things and stuff, but I always pop
mm,
in and say hello to him and have a chat. And they was telling me that the business is very, very low, and he was like telling me that, like, what time was it yesterday? I think it was around 12. He was
mm.
like, he only had 2 people coming into the shop, and
Wow.
the business is not going well. So I was like, wow, by the grace of God, things will be okay, because we just have to have faith. We
Mm,
have to keep taking action. We don't know why what we don't know the lesson that the pandemic basically is showing us, but it is
yeah.
here for a reason. I created Ngozi talk shows during
Hmm.
the pandemic,
Hmm.
so pandemic is here for a reason. So we just have to know that challenges that come our way, we just have to thank God for His grace and mercy. And even the mistakes that we've made in the past, we have to actually be grateful, because sometimes because of those mistakes, lives have been changed. Like myself, I know I've made mistakes in the past, like picking the wrong guys, and
Mm,
picking those wrong guys. It has helped me to create my own business. It has helped me to
wow.
actually check in with myself, and
Hmm.
um, and basically, you don't have to beat yourself up with basically with the past. You don't have to, whatever you've gone through in the past, whatever people have gone through, you don't have to basically be ashamed of it. You have to embrace that pain, embrace your past, embrace and not feeling guilty. Just
Mhm.
embrace it. Is the glory that part that in order for that past to be there, there is an
Wow.
experience, there is a learning that you've learned. So you have to embrace it, not basically and have peace. It's your
Mhm.
brokenness. They have peace. Some people are ashamed. Honestly, some people they are ashamed of their past. For me, basically, it's like I have a group that I've created with my family, just my family, and like close friends that I've known for 20 years. They are basically no longer friends to me. They are my family. So sometimes when I put a message like, like sometimes in order for somebody to actually do something about their lives, they need to see your brokenness, they need to see your vulnerability. So
Mm.
sometimes I put messages showing my vulnerability, and I'll see
Mhm.
somebody messaging private, why did you put that message? I'm like, just get over life. Life is full of joy and full of peace. I just get over it. Like just if I want, I'm like, I want my bloodline to actually achieve the things, to be who they are meant to be. I don't want them to see me succeeding and they're like wondering, what did she do things? I'm like, I'm teaching them, you know what? For me
Yes.
to be here, to be where I am, it was the brokenness. It was that man, Jesus, that actually came to my life and pulled me through my brokenness. So I'm letting them know that you can pull yourself through that brokenness.
Absolutely. And this is so true. This is so true because I say this thing all the time that our stories, each of us has stories,
Yeah,
and we never be ashamed of
yeah,
those stories. I think that in certain, more often than not, we don't realize it, but more often than not, the world is so the world is so concerned with that being perfect, every
yeah,
hair in place. My makeup has to be right. And I have to, especially social media doesn't help, right? Everyone wants
no,
to look they want to look the part. They want to say the right things on social media. They want to seem like their life is perfect. And the silent pressure is there for us all to try to be like the next person. My
yeah,
marriage is perfect, my relationship is perfect, my boyfriend loves me to bits, my car is better than yours, and all of those things. Social media does those things,
yeah,
but more often than not, what really speaks to people, what really reaches down and tugs the heartstrings of people, is our vulnerability, is
yes,
when we are not ashamed to put it all out there, to talk
yeah,
about our broken pieces, and to use them to say, hey, look, I'm not perfect. I've done this and I've done that, and this has happened to me, but I'm still here. I'm
yeah,
still standing. And that in itself speaks of victory. It speaks of triumph. It tells the other person, the next person who you may not know is listening to you or watching you, that if she can go through that and she's doing all this amazing work and if she's still standing, then I can go through it.
yeah,
So I do believe that it's important to voice our stories unashamed, unapologetically. And beyond that, we should remember that our stories are not for us. So don't
no,
keep it in. Your stories are not for you. Our stories are to connect us to the people that we are called to serve. Our
yeah,
stories are to connect us. There's somebody somewhere who would, 9 out of, say, 10 people listening to you, for instance, 9 of them may say, oh my goodness, why does she have to always be like this? Why does she have to share? That's private. Why does she have to open up so much? Just
yeah,
one person might say, oh my God, she is speaking to me right now.
yeah,
That is my story she's sharing right now. And on account of that, that one person begins to follow you or reaches out to you for help or says, can you mentor me through this? Can you coach me through this? Can you tell me how you were able to come out of depression? How you were able to? That's what the world is about. As human beings, we are social animals and we're supposed to be reaching out. We are all interrelated and interconnected. So
yeah,
imagine if I'm sitting there in my own place and you're in your own space and we're also insular, which means the beautiful work that you're doing with Nkosi talk shows, for instance, I'm not seeing it, I'm blind to it, I don't care about it. And the work that I'm doing with my brand, you don't see it, you
Yeah.
don't care about it. Who's
Who's
who
gonna
is
care?
who is going to care? Who is seeing who is working with who is collaborating with who? We're just not created to be insular. We are supposed to relate, and we are supposed to. So our stories are. It's so important to tell our stories unapologetically, because when you open up and you share your story, there's going to be that one or two or three or four people that's going to reach out to you and say, "Oh my God, that resonates. That is my story. Can you teach me how? Can you show me how? Can we work together on this?" And for me, my fulfillment comes from putting out value into the world. So I'm big on collaboration, and I think of collaboration as the new teamwork. Collaboration, not competition. So when I see somebody doing something good, I'm very open, and I'm very quick to say, "This is amazing. You're doing fantastic work."
Yeah.
I admire people for what they do. So I mean, the fact that you can come out and put it out there. I know you talk all the time about your failed marriage, and you're not doing it to be, you're just not apologetic about it. It's just something that happened to you, but that doesn't define you. And
No.
you've gotten better, and you've learned so much by it. And your business today, you run a relationship agency and all of that. That is real value that the world needs. Imagine if you were keeping quiet about it and didn't use that experience to create, the Hope Springs Eternal Age. It would just have been so tragic. So I commend you, I commend me, I commend everybody out there that is bold enough to say, "Hey, I'm not perfect, but I'm still here, I'm still winning, and I'm going to continue to win."
That
Honestly.
yeah, that is so true, Clara, because like social media gives people like a different picture. It's like when I put a picture with my spouse, sometimes people they are like, "Wow, like perfect couples." I'm like, there is no such thing as perfect couples. So I'm like, you see this beautiful picture that I put on social media, I had to take five. The six of them, it was the good one, but the five ones, it was an argument like, do you have to take pictures, do you have to do it now? I'm like, honey, let's take a picture, it will be fine. So people don't get to see the arguments.
Yeah.
They see the beautiful polish, the last bit that is polished. So I always say, okay, I always tell my family, me, I'm upfront that everything you do in life, it requires your attention, it requires you to have peace within yourself, it requires you to actually be vulnerable and show people your vulnerability. Don't show people the beauty only, show them what you had to go through in order for
Mhm.
you to actually go to receive the blessings from God.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Roger says
Roger says,
perfection is
yeah,
an unattainable illusion. It's a
yeah,
myth. It doesn't even exist. This is why I talk about, when I talk to people, I tell them, forget perfection. Just do transition. And for me,
yeah,
transition is just daily improvements. So that the only person you have to compete against is who you were yesterday. And so for me, no pressure. I'm not looking to dance to anybody else's drum beat. I'm
no,
looking to live my own life. I'm not looking for validation from anybody.
no,
I'm just focused on my journey. And I'm not aiming to be perfect. So whether I stutter, or whether I stammer, or whether I speak in a certain way, or whether I show up perfect according to people's definition or not, the fact is, if even the conversation we're having here today, there might just be one or two or three people that it is meant to reach out to, that it
yeah,
is meant to change their mindset and the way they think, and is meant to help them to their next level. And you just have to sign off each day knowing that I've given this day my all. I've given this task, I've given this experience, I've given this project my best. Once you can do that, you set yourself free. That's my definition of personal brilliance. Because if I just look at the word brilliance, someone's going to challenge me soon enough and say brilliant as per whose standards? Brilliance in comparison to who? Hello. My take on it is, I do not have to compare me with anybody. I choose not to. I choose to strive for personal brilliance. For those who are into sports, they talk about their personal best. So that the person who has, if for instance, I ran a sprint in 1 minute, 20 seconds, yesterday, and today I'm practicing, I'm an athlete, I'm practicing and I run it, or an Olympian, I'm practicing and I run it in 1 minute, 15 seconds. 1 minute, 15 seconds is an improvement on what I did yesterday, what I did before. So that becomes my personal best. It doesn't really matter what anyone else has done. The only person that matters is you. Are you challenging yourself daily? Are you seeking to improve yourself daily? And are you better today in some small way than who you were yesterday? And that's all that really any one of us should be consumed with, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, comparison is the thief of joy, basically.
Yes.
I basically, like when I used to play football, I used to be like, I'll be laughing, like, when you play with the other teams, you meet, you go after the game, you meet, or sometimes you go to their places and you meet up, you make friends with those teams, but I will laugh with them and stuff, but when we get to when we go inside in that pitch, I don't
Mhm.
know you. So that was my attitude. That is an athletic attitude, that we know each other, yes, we do. But when we are against each other on that pitch, we don't know each other. Basically, the attitude changes because they want to win and you want to win. So I'm like, when I look at a player, I'm like, you stand in my way. Basically, you wish we've never met. So basically, it's like I'm in business. When I'm there, I'm in business. But when we get out of the pitch, the attitude again changes. It's like, okay, giving each other hugs and like, good luck. And like, if they lose, you basically go, if they lose, you don't basically rub it on. You go and give them a hug and say, well done. And that's how we
True
understand each other.
sportsmanship.
Yeah, that's how we look out for each other. But when we are playing, whatever the results will be, will be. So we don't know each other when we are playing. So that's the attitude you don't have, you should have that. You don't
Yeah.
have to compare your life with anybody else, because comparing your life with somebody is a thief of joy. Basically, you're
True.
stealing your joy, and even God, He will feel hurt that you basically comparing your life, because our blessings are different. And we have to seek them. So if you are somebody who is not seeking, maybe that person they are seeking more, and it's like myself, when you find basically Martin always and my children, they're like, mommy, can't you pray like everybody else, like they pray, you close your eyes, mommy, you go quiet. I'm like, that's not how I pray. If I pray, if things don't not going well in my business or with my health, Clara, you are a lawyer. You know how things work. I put God there. It's like the way I speak, I have to speak like we are in court with these angels, with those who have hurt me. If it's the business is not going well, I will be reading scriptures and saying, God, you say if you seek in my name, everything will be given to you. Show me the things I've done wrong that have brought this basically maybe backwardness, or that has brought this pain. Show me, is it something that I've done? Do I need for forgiveness? And I will ask for forgiveness, and when I'm finished, I'm gonna ask him to do his work, because my purpose on earth is to save. And when I get out, I get the results. Can you imagine the person that is comparing themselves with me, and they have no clue what I do? So that would be really, really hard for somebody to compare your life with somebody, because we are here on earth. Everyone has a purpose, big or small. So basically, and that's why I basically chose this topic, because I see that there are some people that basically, when they are going through something, they are afraid to talk about it, because they believe that people are going to judge them. But guess what? Whether you speak or you don't speak, people always find something to judge you with. So you might as well speak about it, talk about it, find your healing, and if people have written turned off, if you've been turned off in your marriage, in your business, in everything, in every situation, in your destiny, you just have to ask God, seek healing, and find it in everything that we do in life. Family members, there's always a family member that is a champion. I'm sure, Clara, yourself, you are a champion to somebody else in your family. So find those kind of people that are not going to judge you, that are just going to listen, or maybe even not telling you what to do, just listen to you and just let you heal, because everything is a process. Take that process, as long you're not going to stay there. So don't stay in that pain. So over to you, Clara, before we leave. Do you have any words of encouragement to our audience?
Affirmations. Affirmations are so critical. To me, affirmations have a way of changing the game from within.
Yeah.
So the reason I recommend affirmations is because just now you talked about finding some champion, somebody close to you, an accountability partner, a friend, a trusted friend, or somebody who won't judge you, who won't kick you while you're down, who will listen to you without judgment and just be there for you. But assuming you don't have that person, right? And even when you do have that person, sometimes you just want to do what I call personal soul search exercises. You just want to convene a meeting with three people: I, me, and myself. So sit down and just do that personal reflection. And when you do that personal reflection, never do it from a position or a place of judgment, self-judgment, because actually self-judgment is even the worst. It's even worse than when people external are judging you. So make sure that you are on a day-to-day basis forgiving yourself. I can tell you that we may think we are belaboring this point, but it's actually important, because some of us who are so organized that we have to-do lists, and we say, today I'm going to get through this, and this, and we get to the end of the day and we haven't quite met all the items on that list. I know somebody, a client of mine, who would literally kick herself repeatedly over and over again simply because she hasn't met all items on her to-do list. And I say to her all the time, you are CEO of your life, right? You made that to-do list. And if for one reason or the other, you gave it your best shot, but you weren't quite able to meet it, let it go. Chalk it down to experience and put it against the next day. So what I would recommend, going back to the issue of affirmations, is that I would recommend, and I recommend, people sit down, with themselves, either last thing at night before you go to bed, or first thing in the morning when you wake up, those quiet moments when you have some me time. And then tell yourself, recount to yourself the times when you have done something you were proud of, something that made you feel good, something that caused you to grow, a situation in which you sowed into somebody's life, gave value to somebody else, you were available for someone else. Recount those instances. That will make you understand that you're not a waste of space, that you're not here on planet Earth just to clutter up the landscape, that you are important, that you carry value, that you are enough. I'm not saying you have done enough, because we're all about the do. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about realizing that you are enough. You are your own rescue. You have everything to succeed in life. You have everything to help another person succeed in life. It is only when you are used to affirming yourself on a daily basis, when the external naysayers come at you, they're not going to get you. It's going to be like you have a rock solid fortress around you. Why? Because you've already fortified yourself. It doesn't matter what anybody else is saying. You know who you are, you know where you're going, you know what you carry, and you will be able to overcome anything that life can throw at you. You will be able to rise above the past experiences, and you will be stronger going into the future, that God has in place for you.
Thank you so much, Clara. And for me, basically, I would say don't let the past discourage you, because you are the creator of your destiny,
Yes.
and your creator created you to actually have a purpose on earth. So just live with grace, and
Right.
regardless of what is going on in your life, know that if he had pulled me through then, that means that he will do it again. And whatever your beliefs that might be, some people believe in the universe, believe that the universe can help them. Just use your beliefs. Meditate. If meditation does help, like sometimes when I basically used to, like Clara, you spoke about makeup. I used to take 3 hours getting ready. Now I don't. I
Mm.
use that 3 hours, like 1 hour meditation. So I meditate. And it does help basically with my mind during the day, with my thoughts. Even when I'm going through challenges, I'm able to bring my thoughts to focus. I'm able to control my thoughts and just meditate and pray as well. If you are somebody who believes in God, why not pray and ask Him to actually uh, help you with that healing, and He will come through only if you call. So we are here at Ngozi Talk Shows Monday to Friday, and 1 p.m. UK time. So if you really want to connect with our speakers, if you want to connect with Clara, what's your website, Clara?
It's www.clararufai.com.
Yes, you can check her website, what she does, and also if you want to connect with her, you go to Ngozi Talk Show page, and I'll connect you with Clara. And she does amazing work. You've written books as well. Can you talk up? Can you leave the audience with your book, or you're gonna put the link in the?
The book is, it's available on Amazon. It's called Prison Break, the 9 to 5 Escape Agenda. And it's a very useful book that helps us to put things in perspective in terms of what the lives we're living and the life that we're called to live. So if you go onto Amazon and you just type in Prison Break by Clara Rufai, it should come up for you.
Okay, brilliant, Clara. And don't forget to put the link here as well, because it's nice when you put the link as well so the audience can just click.
I will do.
So, yeah, thank you so much, guys. And have a lovely, lovely day, and live with grace, and God bless.
Live with grace, guys. See you.